Hey guys, what is going on? It is Psycho Sibs Gaming. I know I haven't posted in a while. You guys probably thought I was gone, but I'm back. And here's the thing, obviously rolling into finals weekend, you know, it's hard to understand, but as someone who does this as a hobby, you know, you got things like studies and work and family that all technically come before a video. So I apologize for the delay, but you guys aren't here to hear me rant about sappy things. No, today we are here to talk about the Steam Blaster. I've been hearing a lot of people lately say that this is an OP weapon, that it outputs too much damage for a healer. So today we're going to take an in-depth look at all that. I will hopefully answer all of your questions. How much damage does it output? How much range does it have? Is it actually as good as people are saying? So stick around, because you're watching Psycho Sibs Gaming. Alright guys, so the very first thing I want to talk about in this video is the range of the weapon, because I think it's a very important aspect. So as you can see, I'm going to stand a good distance away from the Citron here, slowly move in, shooting my Steam Blaster until eventually it connects. And as you can see right here, we finally get that connection, and this is going to be your maximum range on the Steam Blaster. Now the reason this is important is, and it differs from characters like Snapdragon or Chopper, is the Scientist does not have any other long range options, which means that taking out things like garlic drones or enemies from far distance is going to be extremely frustrating. I also want to point out that no matter what range you're at, if you're at far, medium range, or even right up close against the enemy, the damage is not going to change. There's no fall off. As long as you hit the enemy from anywhere within that range, you're going to be getting the same damage values. I also want to mention how the Steam actually works. As you can see here, it appears to function as a single projectile with a lingering damage effect. This may be a bit confusing to understand, but let me compare it to a more relatable close-range weapon in the game, which is Snapdragon's Fire Breath. Initially, I thought the Steam would work in a similar fashion to the Fire Breath, shooting out multiple blasts of fire over time, but it does not. Instead, the Steam Blaster shoots out a single blast of steam in one linear direction when you fire it. This means you will not be able to track moving enemies with the steam from your gun like you would be able to with Snapdragon's Fire. You'll have to instead focus on stationary enemies or pre-aim ahead of the enemy to get them to run into your lingering steam for the longest period of time. Also, a fun fact, the steam does not go through Citron's shield. That is correct. Citron's shield actually blocks all of those little water molecules. I was not expecting that, but it does. So the final 2 points I want to make are about the hitbox and the damage output of the Steam Blaster. Now, the hitbox is pretty crazy. You see, you don't even have to be aiming at a body part of the enemy. As long as you aim close to the enemy, you'll still be getting damage done, and quite a bit of damage too. You see, the way that the hitbox and the damage plays into each other is when you shoot the Steam Blaster at an enemy, if you shoot it, and remember it is a single projectile technically, if you shoot it directly at the enemy and you make direct contact with the front of the Steam Blast, you will get 13 damage, and if you get a critical hit with it, you'll get 15. So that's just the initial impact, the front of the Steam Blast. If you shoot it at an enemy and you hit them directly on, you'll get 13 to 15 damage. Now, once that initial critical hit is over, then comes the actual main bulk of the damage. The steam then carries on to have a lingering effect that tends to tick for 3 ticks of 13, 2 ticks of 9, and 2 ticks of 5. All in all, that means that assuming you hit that initial 15 damage crit, you will be getting 82 damage from a single use of this weapon. Now, if you're shooting it off to the enemies and you're not hitting them directly on, you won't get that initial 15 to 13 damage, and instead you'll get around 67 damage, assuming that they stay in the cloud the entire time. And this is important to mention because while it doesn't seem like the middle of the Steam Blast does any more damage than the outsides of the Steam Blast, you do need to be in the Steam Blast or touching the Steam Blast to receive damage. And with the very linear, straight, non-tracking shot that we have here, what that means is that extremely mobile characters will be able to avoid damage by moving around a lot. And real quick, the rate of fire on this weapon is extremely slow. I think the whole goal is that you should shoot one steam blast out and then it would dissipate before you can shoot another one. However, that's not necessarily the case. It's a little too fast for that, and you can expect a little bit of overlapping damage if you're holding that trigger down. So, to wrap everything up, how do I feel about the Steam Blaster, and do I think that it's actually overpowered? Well, to begin, I just want to say first that I absolutely love this Steam Blaster. It is tons of fun to play in public matches, and if you have it, I would recommend slotting it immediately. The thing to me that stands out the most about the Steam Blaster, and is the reason why I think they're doing these legendary upgrades correctly, is that when you slot it on your Scientist, the playstyle pretty much completely changes. It allows you to play aggressive. It allows you to use teleports to hunt down and track the enemies, whereas before I found myself with Scientists often using teleport to run away from the enemies in order to heal because the primary weapon just wasn't powerful enough. But now I'm using teleport super hyper aggressively, tracking down enemies who are trying to run away from me and using the teleport to position myself in the proper spot so I can shoot steam at enemies where they'll run directly into it and damage. It's a very creative, it's a very skilled way of playing Scientist, and it's just extremely refreshing. And as to whether or not I think the Steam Blaster is overpowered, I honestly don't. I do not think it's OP. And that's mainly due to a few things. First of all, and probably the most glaring thing, is that the Steam Blaster does not track enemies. Therefore, you have to plan out where you're going to shoot it before you shoot it. You can't just be spraying at your enemies. It has a slow rate of fire. The steam only travels in a straight line from where you shoot it out. You gotta pre-aim. You gotta teleport to the proper spots. This is a very high-skilled weapon. And then another reason is you have to remember that Scientist has no special abilities that do damage to enemies. It's all healing. He is straight healing. So because of these reasons, you're not going to have everyone in the game unlocking the Steam Blaster and then immediately sweeping leaderboards and getting Vanquish Master every time. That's just not going to happen. The weapon in itself is too high skill compared to other weapons in the game. It's a little more technical, and on top of that, you don't have any other help from your special abilities to do damage. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. What do you think about the Steam Blaster? Is everything I just said wrong? Do you think that the Steam Blaster is actually a super OP bubble wand that takes zero skill to use and is ruining the game? Please drop a comment below and let me know. Because like I said, I don't think that this is going to be a game-breaking weapon at all, but if you have it, go use it because it is a lot of fun. Anyways, guys, that wraps up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more epic content. See you next time. Game on, gamers.